Blog Talk Radio.
The funeral is about to begin.
The calling hours.
When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk here.
They will say that I have shed innocent blood. What's blood for, if not for shedding? Kill all
And welcome to the Calling Hours from Horse Society Radio. This is your host, the Dedman, Michael Jones. Everyone, welcome back after the holidays. I hope everyone had a safe and healthy holiday. I am glad to be over whatever sickness and laryngitis I had for about 3 weeks. So please excuse me for not being here the last couple of weeks. You know how it is around the holiday time. Well, 2013 was a great year, and I think 2014 is going to be a good year as well, not only personally and professionally, but in the horror industry as well, in particular with Horror Society. We have a lot of interesting things to talk about this evening. And just to let everyone know, the first guest of the year is the man himself, Mitchell Wells, the owner of HorseSociety.com, the program manager and director of Horror Society Radio, and he has several other ventures that we'll be discussing here shortly. Our first guest, who will be in the media spotlight a little bit later on today, or a little bit later on, about 10-15 minutes, was originally supposed to be Deanna Utella, from Living Dead magazine. We have some news about them coming up as well here in a moment. But due to family illness, Deanna will not be joining us, but we will be joined by Miss Mandible, the creative director of Living Dead magazine, and she is going to give us the skinny on the magazine, what's going on, and how it came to be. And we're going to discuss news, but it's going to be more along the lines of Horror Society news, just so everyone can catch up after the holiday break. First off, we want to announce that the Horror Society Awards for 2014 are currently up at the website, and the website is www.horsesociety.com. And one of our guys, Mike D., the big Mike D., put this together, and I'll kind of give you a little bit of a background on it. Last year's Horror Society Awards was a widely successful event. The website, owned by Mitchell D. Wells of Illinois, received over 2,400 votes in its first annual awards ceremony, the HSAs. A mission to ask indie horror fans for their top choices will continue the tradition for a second year in a row, and it starts now. Quote, we're going to have brand new rules this year, says Mike D. He has been writing for Horror Society for 3 years. Last year, there weren't many rules in terms of the voting process, so certain fan bases spam voted, resulting in winners that no one's even heard of before. I specifically wanted better voting rules this time around to ensure integrity. The Horror Society Awards are a source of great validation for indie filmmakers. Only in the website's awards ceremony will independent projects be listed amongst big Hollywood films, competing for titles and recognition. Being that Horror Society was originally founded to promote the indie horror genre, the brunt of the spotlight is left to the independent titles. We also pride ourselves on being as fan-subscriber interactive as possible, Mike D said. This year, the judges will be submitting nominees on top of a public vote and even a Twitter poll. All three forms of voting will determine the nominees. The public voting for each nominee will begin the Horror Society Awards 2014 process. The public will be asked to nominate their choice of category with a one entry per day, 1 week time period limit on each category. 7 nominees will be chosen from the public vote, followed by 2 more submissions from Horror Society staff, the judges, us, and it will all be capped off by a save vote, which will be done through Twitter and result in a final nominee being chosen for the category. Make sure you have those fingers locked on your keyboards because voting for Category 1, Best Short Film, begins, I believe it is this week. Last year's winners included Cabin in the Woods as Best Horror Film, Zombie Hunters as Best Web Series, Julianne Hamalico as Favorite Scream Queen, and Manhunt as Most Anticipated Flick of 2013. So, for all of you that are looking to vote in independent awards, here is your chance. Mike D's gone to a lot of time and effort to put this together. We've all watched a ton of films this year as staff. We all have some interesting choices when it comes to who we think should be nominated, but we definitely want to get the fans involved. So please head on over to www.horrorsociety.com. Make your votes count. You know, we've got a system in place to where spamming's not going to help you a lot. But if you really want to vote for a movie that you believe was one of the best of the year, actors, actresses, scream queens, all of it, come vote. Make your voice be heard, and let those in the independent arena know that you're watching and loving what they do as well. And if we're lucky, maybe Mike D might be dropping in and he can give us a few more details. So we'll see what happens with that. The other big news as it pertains to Horror Society is we will be adding 2 new shows to the lineup this year, and we're also going to announce our partnership with Flatline Radio. Now, just so you guys know, you know, since we resurrected Horror Society Radio, I've been the only show. And I think to help broaden the fan base and to bring different perspective to the radio station, you know, I talked to Mitch, and I felt like we needed to expand on what we were doing. And we're going to be bringing 2 new shows on. The first one, you got anyone that's been following me on Horror Society knows, one of the places I got my first start in terms of podcasting was on Creepshow Radio. And I think they're a bunch of great guys. Well, here we go. The first show to be added to the gruesome schedule will be Creepshow Radio, brought to us by the outstanding duo of Chris McGibbon and Todd Loya. If you have not heard their show before, you are really missing out on some outstanding technical discussions on genre films and Blu-ray DVD formats, current news items, and some very entertaining DVD commentaries. I mean, I've done a couple of the commentaries with them, and some of the most fun we've ever had. I mean, just good stuff. A little bit of background info. Born and raised in New England, Chris began his love for horror at a very early age. As far back as he can remember, horror films have always been a part of his life. In 2008, Chris started Creepshow Radio with a fellow horror enthusiast, and for the past 4 years, helmed the thriving show with a full roster of shows ranging from fan commentaries to review segments. He's very well versed in the zombie subgenre, as well as an ever-expanding knowledge of 80s horrors through today's current pool of films. As well as running a successful campaign to get The Video Dead released on DVD, Chris has also worked on several independent features and been an online presence in the horror community for over a decade. Now, as far as his partner goes, a West Coast native, Todd became a horror fan at a very young age. A fan of 70s cult and exploitation films, his favorite subgenres includes slashers, rape revenge, and much more. With his firsthand experience of the VHS era, and as well as seeing many cult favorite horror films in their initial theatrical runs, Todd brings an unmatched level of expertise to the show. For over a decade, Todd also ran an online web store that adhered to the needs of horror fans by supplying rare and hard-to-find cult films. We are both very excited to be a part of the Horror Society team, and we spent a long time debating on whether or not the change would be a good move on our part, and we obviously decided that it was. Looking back, it was a more obvious choice, but you've got to be kind of stubborn, I suppose, when it comes to these sorts of things. You can't just be like, look at me over here. Yes, let's do this. Got to let the water simmer before it boils. On our first show, we will be discussing our top 5 personal favorite horror films. The show is not necessarily a list of our top 5 picks in the same sense. They're either the best or the defining films of the genre we feel every fan should see. These are simply our picks for films that have either stuck with us or helped us become the horror fans we are today. Now, the second show is going to involve 2 guys that are already at Horror Society. One I've already mentioned, and that's the big Mike D up in Jersey. The other one is his crazy partner. I don't know if I should call him sidekick. We may ask him that if he calls in tonight, and that's the man by the name of Mac Brewer. The second show to be added to the rotation does not have a start date yet, but we have damn sure come up with some clever they damn sure have come up with some clever taglines. Quote, was all the wit, sarcasm, and dirty humor 2 men from the backwoods of West Virginia and the Jersey Shore can muster, and floppy meat your wife will enjoy. Mike and Mac's Meat Shop will be delivering prime cuts of cheap meat. These 2 guys, I can't wait because, any of the listeners, if you ever have the opportunity to get into a web discussion with the 2 of them at the same time, it's the best time you'll ever have. But they go on to say, Mike and Mac's Meat Shop is an hour-long rant filled with no nonsense and vulgarities where we will bring on an indie writer, director, actor, etc., and shoot the shit. They got to be bloody, gory, grindhousey, or have lots of boobies, hence the Meat Shop. It's like Oprah's book club, but with Mike and Mac's meat and lots of penis jokes. Just remember, all the best butchers play with their meat. So Mac Brewer and Big Mike D, Horror Society writers, and soon-to-be future podcast hosts. Now, the other big thing is we're also proud to announce our new partnership with Flatline Radio. Coming up here shortly, not tonight's episode, but coming up here in the near future, you will hear commercial segments about them on our shows, and they will start replaying our podcasts on our 24-hour radio station. So you can always listen to our show live. You can always download it. You can get it through iTunes. Go listen to it on Flatline Radio. Stay tuned for more details on this exciting development, and when we have more stuff to let you know, we will let you know. Now, before we get our first guest on, Miss Mandible from Living Dead Magazine, let me make a quick statement about Living Dead Magazine. Coming up here shortly on Horror Society, I will be posting a small news article about Living Dead Magazine. They got in contact with me. I got in contact with them, back and forth, and the Dedman is going to start writing a feature article in the magazine. And when we get our guest on, our Miss Mandible, we will get more details about the availability of the magazine and how it came to be. And as a matter of fact, it appears that Miss Mandible is on the line now. Miss Mandible, is that you?
Yeah, it is.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you for being on the Calling Hours Horror Podcast on Horror Society Radio. I was just kind of letting everyone know that I'm writing a column for the magazine. But before we even get into any of that, why don't you tell everyone about how the magazine came together and how you became a part of the magazine?
Yes, absolutely. So the magazine is basically, it came together because Lauren, Indiana, those are the 2 gals who are running the magazine. They have been, like myself, fans of horror for pretty much their entire lives, kind of like your last discussion was about basically how it's just a lifestyle. And so that's kind of what the magazine is supposed to kind of bring out for an audience, is it's the idea that not just for horror movies, I mean, everyone goes and watches horror movies. It's a huge market in film as it is. But it's more about the lifestyle of just embracing the horror. I know I can't say for Lauren and Deanna, but I find a certain beauty in grotesqueness and horror, and there's something beautiful about the ugly things in this world, and there's something ugly about the beautiful things. So it's just really a lifestyle magazine. So,
well,
yeah.
How did the magazine actually come to be?
Well, that was actually kind of the result. So Deanna had been running Living Dead Girls. It was a group in Portland for the last probably like 3-4 years now, I think. And basically it was just a bunch of models who would get together for photo shoots where they'd create pretty elaborate sets. They would specialize, find a specialist in hair, makeup, finding the photographers. And that's one of the great things about the Portland community. It's just that everyone is very open to helping each other out and when it comes to a certain interest. And so that's kind of where it started. However, Deanna, I believe she just wanted to keep pushing it further and further. And I used to run my own publication for a tiny period, and I featured some work Lauren was doing. She's been writing a comic book for a while with another artist, Matt Huntley. So I think that's kind of really for them, it just wasn't enough to only model and be pretty in pictures. It's like they wanted to really just get all of that, all of their love for horror on paper for everyone to enjoy. So.
Now, let me ask you this. Being the creative director of the magazine, can you first tell everyone what that entails?
Well, it's important. Luckily, I'm taking over for Devin. He was kind enough, Devin Devereaux. He was kind enough to do the first issue, and so now I'm just taking over, which basically, as a creative director, you were in charge of doing all of the layouts. I don't do any of the writing, but I do look forward to seeing what you've written when it comes in. But yeah, so I make the look of the magazine, which is really important. Obviously, you don't want to look at bad layouts. It's important to have something that's easy to read and also grabs attention of the readers. This isn't
good.
A boring
magazine. At least now I know who's going to be putting the pictures in my articles. So now I feel better about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
this is personally something I love, so go for it.
With looking at the way that media has progressed, everything's gone to the internet, everything's gone to tablets, everything is this, that.
Yeah.
From your standpoint, what do you guys see? What do you see as the risk running print as opposed to making it? Like I said, the hot thing now is for everyone to do online magazines. What made you guys decide to go with print as opposed to making it an online magazine?
Well, I can say from experience personally, I have a obsession with the idea of post-apocalypse, which goes along with the idea of horror. The problem with digital is if it's gone, let's just say the World War II digitally come to an end of some sort, anything that wasn't in print would be lost forever. And so there's something beautiful about having something in print. It's something that until you decide to burn it for a fire or something like that, it will be there until that point. And so I think that's kind of the idea in it, and I think that really probably does cater to fans of this genre because, I think there's a certain impending doom that we're all aware of, whether or not there really is. So having print, I think it creates that whole feeling of finality. That, and it's nice to hold something in your hands. You can only look at a screen for so long. So
I agree 100%.
I don't think there's
as a writer, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Now, you kind of touched upon the whole lifestyle thing with the magazine, but other than that aspect of the magazine, what do you feel sets this magazine apart from, your Fangorias, your Rue Morgues, and your magazines like that?
Rather than just reviewing what's going on in popular culture, I think that Deanna and Lauren are both really trying to also push those who are, startups and not necessarily already famous for what they do. So really highlighting those who are really in this genre but aren't necessarily haven't been discovered. Or also it's we do locations, like haunted house locations. So, it's places that readers can actually read about, go to, experience. We've also got clothing reviews and things like that coming up in some of our issues. So it's people who want to actually, don the apparel that they, admire on other people. It's, fashion is a huge part of it too. And again, all of these things are part of your everyday lifestyle. What you wear, the things you hang up in your house, like artwork, furniture. So it's not just about watching films, but it's about embracing all of the aspects and finding where you can find the products that you might want to have in your home.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, what can you, since issue 2 is getting ready to come out, can you let everyone know, monthly magazine, quarterly magazine, and how can they get the magazine?
Quarterly. We are quarterly magazine. We do have all of the magazines available. Deanna's been very diligent about getting them onto all of the internet platforms. So, you can find it on, I think you can find it on MadCloud. If you go to our Facebook, she's got all the links to all the ways you can buy it, both digitally and in print. We are printing large amounts each quarter, and we are selling them. We actually have a booth coming up in a few weeks at Wizard World in Portland, and so I think we'll be selling issues there. We'll be selling merchandise for anyone who happens to be at Wizard World. And probably, I don't know if we are doing it this year, but we did Emerald City last year. So chances are we'll be going to conventions quite a bit. And there's talks about trying to get in touch with other horror fanatics and really try to create a horror down the road. It's a kind of a goal, a horror-themed convention. There's really nothing like that here in the Northwest. So anyone who wants to get involved with that, I'm sure that's something that we'd want to know about, and create an even bigger scene for what we love so much over here. So, getting the magazine, conventions, you can go online. Our Facebook, like I said, has all of the links. Also, we have livingdeadmagazine.com. So that's a direct way too. You can go straight to the website and find, if you want a print version, which I always suggest. I love print, or of course digital, which is converted to almost all devices.
Before we let you go, can you tell everyone what the theme of the next issue is and what the date of availability will be?
It's coming out on Valentine's Day, so it's definitely going to have some beautiful babes gracing many, many pages. And so that's kind of, we're going with that theme. And, with our release date being Valentine's Day. So it's going to be really exciting.
Very nice. Well, Ms. Mandible, thank you for coming on. I'm looking forward to being a writer for the magazine, and, of course, we will promote the hell out of it on Horror Society. Is there anything you want to tell the listeners before you go?
Not really. We welcome everybody to read our magazine, give us any feedback. Again, we are a new magazine, so any ideas, anyone who wants to contribute can get a hold of Deanna. Her contact information is on the website, on Facebook, or Lauren, both of them. We look forward to growing bigger and bigger with the community.
Outstanding. Well, thank you, Miss Mandible, for coming on, and we will be talking to you again soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. And once again, that was Miss Mandible, the creative director of Living Dead magazine. Look for the new issue on February 14th, and the Dedman is going to be in there as well. Coming up, we're going to have our feature interview with the owner and creator of HorseSociety.com, Mitchell Wells. Also this evening, we will be doing a Blu-ray review of Scream Factory's Crawlspace. Creepy stuff. But before all of that, we are going to get into our Metal Blade Spotlight for the evening. Tonight's feature band is Aeons. The name of the album is Aeon's Black. The song title is I Wish You Death.
Never ending, I will not touch away.
And that was I Wish You Death from Aeon's off the album entitled Aeon's Black. Be coming out for release here shortly. We'll go into the CD a little bit more detail. Coming up here shortly, we are waiting for the boss man, the big man, Mitchell Wells, to call in. For those of you that don't know who Mitchell Wells is, shame on you. He's the man that owns the site Horse Society. He is also the man that gives us this great format known as Horse Society Radio. Without him, none of this will be possible. I really can't wait to pick the man's brain, even though I've been writing for him for a couple of years. I think it's a great opportunity to get insight on what makes a site like this tick. What was his original visions? You know, Horse Society Radio and all the things that we do now as a whole on Horse Society. You know, I have to admit, and I think most of my fellow co-writers, Mike D., Holly Von Doom, Mad Mac out there in West Virginia, Mike Hoovey out there, Mitch pretty much lets us do our own thing, and I think we're all very appreciative of it. He allows us to pretty much state our opinions without stamping on us, and that's kind of a hard thing. I know a lot of websites and owners kind of I don't want to say step on their writers, but definitely censor them more. And usually if we have something that we think may be controversial, we usually talk it over with them first. But Mitch has always been really good about letting us do what we want to do. I mean, just as a perfect example, Mike D. with, the Horse Society Awards and the book. Hopefully when Mike calls in, Mike will talk about the book. I don't want to steal his thunder, since that was definitely his baby. But yes, as I was saying, Mitch has certainly afforded us several opportunities. You know, when I approached him about reviving Horse Society Radio, I told him, I said, the big thing these days is podcasts. Everybody's doing them. Every site's got them. I mean, hell, Fangoria was on XM Radio or Sirius Radio. I think they still are. There's definitely a crowd to listen to it, and our listening has our listenership has gone up. I mean, it's just about every episode has averaged about 400 downloads per episode. The last episode, the Melanie Robel episode, has actually been the highest downloaded episode of all time as of right now, with close to, I believe it's almost 1,400 downloads at this point. So the show is definitely catching on. A lot of our brethren out there in the horror realm, especially on Facebook, websites, Twitter, have been really good about cross-promoting with us. And it's nice. We're, Horse, and this is stuff we'll talk about with Mitch when he calls in here in a minute. There's been discussion about us doing other things. Film festivals have been discussed. Of course, we have the radio station now and bringing in other people to do the radio station, guys like Chris and Todd over at Creepshow Radio, definitely. And like I said, I cannot wait for the comedic hijinks of Mike D and Mac when they do the meat shop on here. I have a feeling that's going to lead to some absolutely hysterical things. And, hopefully we can get two of our other intrepid writers out there, Hoovey and Miss Von Doom, if they ever feel so inclined, to host a podcast as well. And I'm really going to encourage Mitch to do the same thing. Even if he doesn't do a weekly podcast, I really feel like a monthly State of Horse Society address would be something that would be really nice. And like I said, as far as a writer goes, Mitch certainly does post on the website, but he usually leaves most of the writing to us. And I really think that, getting his insight on the things that we cover and why we cover them and things like that, I think, are really paramount. And Mitch doing a show on here would really, I really think, help bolster everything. So there's a lot of excitement to be had there. So, again, in a few moments, anytime now, we should be hearing from Mitchell Wells, who is the owner and creator of HorseSociety.com. Our Facebook page, I know Mitch is extremely proud of this. We have over 28,000 followers. I know we're excited on Twitter when, Ron Perlman and Clive Barker started following us. So like I said, Mitch has a lot to talk about, a lot of excitement. And, congratulations, to Mitch and his wife as well. They recently had a child, and Mitch has balanced having a child and running the site and doing all the amazing things that he does for us all at the same time. So, like I said, Mitch will be with us in a moment. But to reiterate earlier, like I said, at the end of the show, we will be reviewing Scream Factory's Crawlspace with Klaus Kinski. I had the opportunity to watch that last night, and it was absolutely one of the strangest movies I've ever seen. And then the Metal Blade Spotlight tonight again is Aeon's, covering their album Aeon's Black. We'd originally heard the song I Wish You Death. After our interview with Mitch in a little bit, we will be playing our second song by them, and then we will have our follow-up song, our closing song, which will give you insight into what we will be listening to next week. So, anything else exciting going on at Horse Society? Well, I had mentioned the book, and we at Horse Society, Mike D. in particular and Mitch, put together a book of short stories, fan fiction, that, of course, fans from the site wrote, and it was published. And like I said, I'm expecting the rest of the crew from Horse Society to be joining me here as Mitch is on, and they can all each discuss their little things that they're doing, big things that they're doing, like the book and stuff along those lines. But as an interesting side note, Mitch, again, bringing up Mitch is based out of Chicago, Illinois. I know that he has done conventions before, and like I said, there's been discussion of Horse Society doing that again. And when I was recently judging for the Macabre Film Festival, that we have some interest in that as well. And as soon as we get Mitch in, we'll ask him about those things as well. And it looks like he is here. Is this the boss man?
Hey, Michael, what's happening, man?
What's going on, Mitch? How you been?
Oh, not too bad. Freezing my ass off, to tell you the truth.
Believe it or not, it's not too much better in North Carolina. It's
really?
Freezing here too. Oh man, it's terrible. We got up this morning. I think the actual low was 9 and wind chill was right around 0. I'm sure it's colder there, but still.
Well, we hit 0 today, so yeah, it was good. It was a heat wave.
Well, like I told everyone, this is the first show of the year, and I thought it was high time that the man that basically put all this together come on and let the people know who he is and what he does. So before we even get into anything deeper, tell us a little bit about who Mitchell Wells is and how he came up with the idea for Horse Society.
Well, that's a long, complicated, drawn-out story, but back in 1975, I was born. It was a cold, crisp summer day. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know, man. I love horror movies. Always have. I'm an internet geek. I love computers. I still do. I got my first computer a long time ago. My brother-in-law actually showed me what exactly the internet was, and discussion groups and all kinds of stuff. And from there, I just kind of found people that were interested in horror movies and started talking, and just kind of, the website led from that to the website that it is today. And that all stems back from my brother. Got me into this shit when I was 10, 11 years old, watching the old Universal monster flicks.
Oh, yeah.
Werewolf, and Dracula, and I used to love that stuff. And he had just moved out, got his own apartment, and it's pretty much like down the street from my parents' house, so I always wanted to go and hang out. So sure. I always like pretty much just kind of walk down there, and it was just like free for all. I could do what I want. So I'm like, yeah. He's like, you want to watch some movies? I'm sure. He throws in Dracula and The Mummy and shit like that. I was hooked from then on. So, and like, I don't know, 10 years later, I got a computer, and then I started finding other people that pretty much had the same story I did, and started talking and looking at all these like chat rooms and forum boards and stuff like that, and decided to make my own, and that turned in from like a message board to the website, and
that's what I wanted to ask you. How much has Horror Society evolved from what you started to what it is now? I mean, are you surprised with how it's evolved and all the things that go into the site now?
I guess I'm surprised. I kind of wanted it to be how it is now from the beginning. I just didn't know how. you know, so to me, but like since its inception, since I started, and since I kind of knew what I wanted and I couldn't get there, I feel like today I'm behind, but I guess I'm not. But that's just my own weird thinking. But I don't know. So it's kind of changed from more of a message board, forum based, to like an actual website. And like the progression that normal websites, I guess, go through, like forum type stuff, message, to more blog, to more, content management, to like a mixture of everything of what it is today. So, man, I gotta dig up some screenshots of the old website. It's hilarious. Like, you gotta look at it. It's fucking horrible back then. But it was cool as shit to me, and like, I loved it and everybody loved it. It was just kind of cool. It had, pretty decent traffic, and it would go through ups and downs, and weird things happen. I lost like 2 years of database stuff a long time ago when I first started, because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Right. But yeah, I think I sort of had a good grasp on it now.
Well, now let me ask you this. Being a writer for the site and everything, of course I'm a little biased, and I get to see a lot of the things and know a lot of things that the average reader doesn't know. But and this is not bashing other sites or anything, but a legit question. When people that I've tried to interview, who's Horror Society? What would you tell people in terms of, when you look at a Fangoria, when you look at a Bloody Disgusting, what is it that Horror Society provides or does differently than those sites? And from a pure number standpoint, just so people know, how does Horror Society's numbers stack up to what are considered the two big sites?
Well, I tell you, that's kind of a hard question, really. I want to say that we offer pretty much about the same thing, except we're just geared more towards independent horror, and always kind of have been since the beginning. Since there's Bloody Disgusting, Dread, Fango, all that stuff has been around for a while, and they're covering all the same stuff that everybody else covers. I started mine. I started talking about movies that I bought at Best Buy that no one's ever fucking heard of, and that's kind of like my thing. So I just decided to go from there. But I think, it's kind of weird. I think that we offer the same thing as they do, except movies that not everyone talks about. And they still got their indie spotlight stuff. It's just, it's like 20% indie, 80%, regular horror, mainstream type stuff, if you could say. We're just like flip it, like 80% indie, 20% mainstream type stuff.
Now, what would you say? What would you say led to that, though? What is it that has? Because it's true, we have over 28,000 followers just on Facebook. I'm not sure how many the Twitter account has right now, but I know those numbers were starting to grow pretty well too. But what do you think it was about Horror Society that has kept the independent community coming to us?
I want to say it's because of my charm and good looks.
I mean, that could be it. But, the pictures you put up are, You know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one sexy motherfucker. I know that, but I don't think that's really what it is.
Everyone loves the picture of you doing the shot. I mean, you know.
Oh, yeah, right. That's like the only one I like. The rest of them, I hate pictures myself, to tell you the truth. It's kind of weird, but, you know, let's see. I don't know, because I'm sort of biased in a sense, but from the stuff I've gotten, like emails, comments, people talking to me about stuff, it sort of seems like everyone kind of makes a movie, or everyone wants to make a movie, and everyone like, oh, I made this movie. I want to show the public the movie. I want to get it out there. Nobody else, in a sense, would like communicate or respond to them except for me.
Right.
So it's one of those things where I think people like it and people are drawn to the site because like I sort of give a shit. And it's not that the other sites don't. You know, it's just they got their own stuff and they don't necessarily care about some movie that's made for $400 in the backyard. I want to watch it. I think it's kind of cool. I do care a little bit more. So I think it's that communication aspect of stuff. It's the response, and everyone has kind of been like, well, you know, I emailed everybody, and you're the only one that responded back to me. I'm like, oh, really? Because I thought, like, after 4 days, you wouldn't give a shit. And, you know, it's like, oh, okay. So, you know, because I get a lot of emails, but anyway, I think it's that kind of aspect. Like, I do care about this stuff, and everybody's got something. You know, and a lot of it's bad, a lot of it's good. Like, but I want to see, like, people need to see it. You know, people snatch out their credit cards and shit to make these things, so it's like, oh, yeah, show it to me and I'll show it to everybody else.
And, you know, we're all guilty of this. I mean, especially us that write for the site. If you think back on conversations that we've had, you know, we get so, you know, a lot of us are tired of what Hollywood's putting out.
Yeah.
So we gravitate to what Hollywood's not putting out, and you know I think we would both agree that we're starting to find a lot more gems and real talent out there, as opposed to a studio who's just throwing money at a project just to do it.
Oh yeah, definitely, and that's kind of what drew me to a lot of these things in the beginning. A lot of these like obscure movies that I'd go and buy, and I'd pass over like I don't know whatever and pick something else because like. I haven't seen it. No one's seen it. Let's watch it. It might be good. Lo and behold, it is.
Right.
You know, and I think around the time that I started Horror Society, that trend started to sort of, you know, become a bit more popular to make your own stuff.
Right.
And just through the years, I've been there sort of since the beginning. So it's like, you know, people are doing it more now, but I've been there covering them, and they're just now seeing that I'm doing it. And, you know, a lot of people are like, wow, you've been doing this since 2006. I'm like, yeah. Oh, this is great.
Well, I mean,
where were you? This,
definitely,
blah, blah, blah.
There's definitely a rabid fan base for it, and Horror Society certainly, you know, caters to that market.
Yeah,
now, one of the things that I found interesting, and Horror Society uses this a lot more than I notice other sites. How much would you say the advent of Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and all this other social media has impacted how you run a website?
Oh man, it's here. I heard this term today. Actually, it's been heaven and hell. It's been heaven in the fact that like you have all the internet's a huge, untamed kind of beast in a sense. If you think about it, there's all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of people. You know, millions of websites, all this kind of shit to do. So just lately in the past few years, the social media type stuff has sort of, it got like bigger and more people are using it. So I'm just like, well, why not use it? Fuck, let's just use everything. Everything and anything that I could do to promote like whatever's on the website for my own good, for the people on the website as well. So let's use it. But then it's been hell in the fact that everyone does use it. So it's like, no one really needs a website anymore. Or why should I, you know, go to this website and hope they review it when I could just, you know, put shit up on my Facebook page? You know, it used to be MySpace, and, you know, I've been through that. I still got MySpace accounts, actually.
I do, too. It's kind of sad.
I still, like, I still use it, and it helps promotion. It helps getting people to be like, there's more to the internet than Facebook. There's more to the internet than Twitter. Come here and check this out. But a lot of people use it, and it's great. But then a lot of people use it, and it's bad. So it's just kind of been a mixture of both.
Yeah,
but I love it for the fact that that's like direct communication to everyone that comes to the website. So it's just like if someone doesn't like you, they tell you. If someone likes you, they tell you. And you can respond. And I love that part of it, too. So.
Now, here's a funny one, and I'm not going to name any names, not going to incriminate anybody, but, again, being the head honcho, I'm sure people would like to get your thoughts on this. When you get just a cracked-out nut job spamming the site, Facebook or whatever, I'm laughing about one in particular, and you know which one, but, how do you find that fine line of how you need to handle a situation like that?
Right. I found that line a while ago, and I used to get pissed off. I used to be like, well, actually, to begin with, I was kind of fairly nice about things, and I would say, I apologize for this, or I'm sorry you feel that way, and and then they'd like troll back and be like, blah, 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 and then I'd just get pissed. But like I realized there's so many people to get pissed at, there's no point in getting pissed. So it's like, if someone, I usually kind of ignore it in a sense, or if it's really like irritating or they're just saying wacky shit that's just off the cuff and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'll sort of just kind of tell them and then delete them.
Right.
It's just like, but a lot of times anymore, it's just like, oh man, it's just somebody else. Just fucking ignore it, because they'll get off their soapbox in 10 minutes, and it'll be fine. Or if it's really bad, I won't even say shit anymore. I just delete somebody from Facebook or whatever, and just because I don't care. Like there's just too many like good people to care about the couple that are like fuck ups. You know what I mean? So it's just like
it's very true. It is fun sometimes to engage them in spirited discussions, though. We've had fun doing that a couple times.
Oh, yeah. I think I sent you one of the messages. I put something up on the Facebook page one time, but I get that kind of stuff a lot. And sometimes, like, the mood strikes me, I'll do it for like a half an hour and just like, you want to talk shit? Let's go. I'll win.
Mitch, we have a surprise. Are you ready for this?
Oh, man.
It looks like the rest of the crew is calling in to add to your roast.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All at once?
Is this Hoovy?
Hey.
How's it going, man?
Great. How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Awesome.
Good.
Well,
you trying to stay warm? This freaking polar, what do they call it? The polar killer or some shit?
Polar vortex.
Polar bear? Polar vortex. Yeah, geez, I'm getting stuck inside is what I'm doing.
Well, this is a rare opportunity because, those of us that are staff members, the core group is really based in and around the Chicago area. I'm on the outskirts in North Carolina. We've got Mike D up in Jersey. We've got Mac in West Virginia and Miss Von Doom out there in St. Louis, and all of them will be calling in during this interview, Mitch. So, hell, when can we all get each other at the same time? I mean, it just never happens.
I know it's kind of odd. Shit, I haven't talked to Julie here since like last year at Monster Mashup.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Mike. Why don't you give us a little bit of background about how you became involved with Horror Society and some of the things that you write for the site?
Well, let's see. Basically, I've been writing for other sites for a number of years, but I've always been a fan of Horror Society, and I think it was late last year I contacted Mitch about writing for the site, and luckily he allowed me to do so. And basically what I do a lot of the day-to-day news stories that come out, as well as I like to do interviews and here and there film reviews.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you're one of the few that keeps pace with me on all the metal. I mean, it's nice to have someone else because Metal Blade kills me with all the stuff they sent me.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to keep up with.
Oh my God, it's insane. So, Mitch, as you know, when you look at your writers, when you look at, you know, it's so hard. So for people that don't know, there are 3 Michaels that write for the website. Hence why I go by Dedman. Mike D goes by Mike D, and I always called Michael, you know, Hoovy, a wrestling joke for those of you that know me. But you know, what is it that you know, when Mike contacted you about writing, when any of us contacted you about writing for the site, what was it about our styles that you thought meshed well with Horror Society?
You know, I don't think it's any one thing in particular, really. I think sometimes it just hits me, and sometimes I could just I don't know. I used to get a lot of people like, yeah, I love to write for the site, I love to do this and that. I'm like, oh, send me some stuff, and they send me some things, and it's just like, oh yeah, that's great. You know, like I'm doing good now. But sometimes, every once in a while, and I've done this since the beginning. I've gotten lucky with like several writers throughout the years, like, you know, stuck around for years and stuff. It just hits me like, oh, for some reason I think he might be a good fit. And I don't know what it is about, like a review that I read or anything. Like I read a few things of Juvies. I actually found Mike D's blog. I don't know how or really, I don't really remember. I think I left him a comment on a post, and then like the next day he was writing for Horror Society. So it's nothing in particular, you know. It's not like, oh, he's a well-depth, you know, this and you know, it's thought out and blah, blah. It could be crap, but if it just hits me, it's just like, oh, that's kind of cool. So, right. and honestly, luckily, I've been good about picking a few people. Yeah, some people like write 2 things and leave and never hear from them again. But like just, you know, again, like the core, all the mics. There's just something about you guys, like it just hit me, you know, it just struck. Like, oh, let's give it a shot. I think it's gonna be good. And so far, it's been pretty cool, you know.
I think it has something to do with the M's. Have you noticed that? Everyone but Holly has an M.
I think so.
In there.
I know, it's kind of weird. It's just Mike, Mitch, Mike, and Mike, and Mike.
And then we have Holly.
I tell you, our
we love Holly.
Facebook messages. Oh yeah, our Facebook messages, I get all messed up. So I'm like, Mike, can you do this? Or Mike, and then it's seen by Mike, and Mike. I'm like, oh shit, I don't know what's going on.
Now, Mike, I had mentioned.
And Holly, yeah, we love Holly. So.
Oh yeah, we love Holly. I mean, when she's not standing in her corner, but Mike, right. I had mentioned this earlier before the interview. I had mentioned one of the things that I really enjoyed about writing for Horror Society is, you know, I've written for magazines, I've written for other sites, you know, all kinds of things. But Mitch has really been, if you want to call him editor-in-chief, which may be the best way to do it, Mitch has been the first editor that has pretty much let me run my own way and cover things from the perspective that I want to cover them from. You as a writer, what are your thoughts on that, on how Mitch allows us the creative freedom that he does, and what is it about Horror Society in particular that makes you proud to be a writer there?
Well, you know, Dedman, you're exactly right about Mitch. I've written for quite a few different sites over the years, but I've never had really the freedom that I have with Mitch and Horror Society, basically to, you know, I try and keep whatever I write about in the realm of horror, science fiction here and there, and, you know, heavy metal that appeals to horror fans or has horror elements to it. And the great thing about Mitch is he has never, I don't believe one time, ever told me, you know, this story is inappropriate or don't cover this or don't cover that. He's pretty much let me, you know, go my own way and, you know, basically cover what I want to cover, which is just completely outstanding. That's why I love writing for Horror Society. And the core group of writers that we have, Dedman, yourself, MGD, Holly, and Mac are the greatest group of, co-writers, you could have writing for a website, especially, writing about horror stuff. We all seem to gel so well with each other, when we're talking to each other. Nobody's stepping on anybody else's toes for the most part. We all get along so great, and it's such a great site to work for.
I mean, I definitely agree with everything that you said. Now, Mitch, from, hearing that, I have to ask, how, journalism is a funny thing. You have people that are afraid of saying the wrong thing. Sites, some sites are afraid to mention a name because, I don't want to get blackballed by this writer or, this director if I say something bad. How is it that you, because Mike's right, I know I've come to you a couple of times with things that, I wouldn't go so far as to say inflammatory, but could certainly spark a healthy debate. How in your mind do you say, yeah, I'll let this slide, or no? I mean, what would it take for you to say no to a story?
I guess say no to a story. I don't. It's gotta be bad.
I'll give you a perfect example. I'll give you a perfect example, and this is not mudslinging. This is fact. When the whole Leanna Spider Baby thing went down,
right?
Fangoria, the editor said something on his Facebook, but nobody else there would acknowledge it, would admit it. Nothing. I mean, and Fangoria put a kibosh on that and actually published another article of hers after they fired her. I guess what I'm saying is if I'd come to you and said I wanted to run this story, I don't felt like you would have said to me, no, don't write this story because, Quentin Tarantino won't talk to us.
Right.
What is it, where is that line for you as a journalist?
I guess if you're not, let's see, I guess if you're accusing somebody of something and you know flat out that they didn't do anything, then I would probably have a problem with it.
Well, sure. I mean, that's just
I just like
at that point.
Plagiarism, I guess, is another thing. Occasionally I check stuff, and I kind of don't so much anymore because I know you guys, the other writers. I take snippets and I Google them, and do shit like that just to make sure,
Right.
But I don't know. It's got to be bad. You can't just be like, look, I hate this person. I hate this person. I hate this person. Yeah, I'd probably be like, don't do that. That's kind of, it's not going to help you. You're just kind of ranting at your own personal soapbox. It's not quite like that. But, I mean, it's got to be bad. Otherwise, I'll let you write it, man. Write it. Everyone's got their own opinion. And it's just like Mike said, Juvie, to be good, you got to have a little bit of freedom. You got to have that creative freedom, as people say, to just kind of, just go with it. Right from wrong. You really do. So, and I know that you do, and I have faith in you that you do. So, do it. If it sparks a healthy debate, that's cool. If someone's not going to talk to me, that's fine. They probably never want to talk to me to begin with. You know what I mean? So it's fuck it. Whatever. If you get mad because we mentioned somebody or, don't do that because we'll get pulled off the press release, who gives a shit? There's more. There's other companies. I've seen companies go up and down and go away, and people, forget about stuff, and it's just whatever. Do something. People want to hear whatever. They want to read everything, At least I do, and that's kind of how I wanted, things to run with my website. As long as it's, horror-related or what, horror folks like metal and fashion and friggin' Halloween, just do it. You just can't be a dick about stuff, And I'll tell you, and I won't even be a dick about it too. I'll be like, that story's not that great because you're kind of like this and that, and I'm pulling it. Try not to do that,
Right.
Other
now,
than that,
go ahead.
We're not the Wall Street Journal, so and if I can do something,
I never thought of it that way, but
people are gonna like it.
Now, we've seen a lot of interesting things come and go, and Horror Society is, I would use the term aggressively expanding in a lot of areas. we with your blessing, we brought back Horse Society Radio, and I think that's going well. We're adding the 2 new shows this year. We use social media to the fullest extent that we can, so I feel like we're on the cutting edge with that. But what else would the 2 of you like to see? Mike as a writer, Mitch as the owner. What's next for Horror Society? Are we going to do a convention? Are we going to like co-sponsor a film festival? I mean, what are we looking at in the future in terms of expansion?
Well, I tell you, from my point of view, I've done events. I love the events, and I kind of did them all by myself, and with with the help of a lot of people. But like, in a sense, it wasn't like a company putting it on. It's kind of like I stayed up 12 hours doing all this shit, and like, hey, can you help me? Oh, sure, And I had a bunch of people helping me for a lot of things like that. And I had a good run of it, and I kind of quit. And I'd like to do some more later. I got to find the right opportunity, and I have no problem sponsoring things either.
Right.
And I don't know. I guess for the actual website, I'd like to do some video stuff, some more video exclusives. Some on-set type stuff. It's just. We're gonna have to talk off the air about that. There's some rumblings going on with that may start happening. The Horse Society YouTube page might start becoming a lot more of a usable tools, shall we say? I love that because people love to watch videos, and I think that's one thing I'm kind of lacking a little bit as far as the website. But everything else, I'm sure you guys would be up for any kind of events, parties. I don't know about conventions. That's a whole story, but.
Well, I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that Horse Society throw its own convention, but I definitely think that we should start. Whether we do it collectively, like all of us come to Chicago, or whatever. But I do think that one of the things we should do is definitely we need to get our presence out there more at events like that.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely down for that, and that's on the agenda for sure.
What do you think, Mike? I mean, as a writer and a very regular contributor to the site, what are other areas that you would want to see Horror Society expand out into?
Well, I totally agree with Mitch about the video stuff. I've interviewed a lot of the celebrities, over the past few years. But I think
King
people
Diamond
would
one
get
being
more...
my favorite, by the way.
Oh, it was one of my highlights, let me say.
Oh, my God, that was an incredible interview.
To talk with the man for over 90 minutes was just incredible. But I digress. I would love to start doing video interviews because, I don't know how much people actually read, a written interview. I think they would rather see a video interview with any celebrity, for that matter. And I would love to start doing that more. I just don't have the equipment as of right now in order to do that. And
certainly.
Another thing that, just in my own opinion, and not speaking for anybody else on the site, I would love to see Horror Society associated with some type of film festival. Whether it's just a sponsor or our own Horror Society Film Festival, where we could bring in, possibly bring in a celebrity or two and get some really cool movies for, a Saturday or Sunday or something. That's what I would like to work towards. But again, that's just speaking for myself.
No, I mean, I certainly feel you on that. Like here in North Carolina, where I'm at, Chicago. I know you guys have a little bit more. When you say, Chicago, people know what you're talking about. Half the time when you say Raleigh, people still think we're in Mayberry down here. But like we have this brand new convention center. If I want to go to a horror convention, and I mean anything worth a damn going to, I've got to drive to Charlotte or I've got to drive up to Virginia, D.C. there's nothing here. The film industry's great, especially independent. The only thing we've got in terms of a film festival is the Nevermore Film Festival that's held in Durham every year. And I've been a board member on that, and, that was a lot of fun. But, I was approached this year, and, Mitch and I were, going back and forth on it, talking about it. I was a judge for the Macabre Film Festival, and they are dying, because they do like 2 a year, they are dying for us to be a part of it.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm cool with that, man. I think you get a couple under your belt. Like I did about 12 or 10, something like that, and then you don't do them for a while, and then you kind of get that itching feeling again. Like, shit, let's try to do something again. So
well,
I think this year might be good.
You talk about a film festival. Why couldn't make use of our YouTube channel? We could do an online film festival.
Oh yeah. I've had a few friends do something similar, and one guy tried, but it never actually happened. But yeah, I've been thinking about that as well.
Because that's pretty much all the rage now.
Yeah, that's for sure.
We could definitely make it just an independent, festival. Like a lot of, everything I viewed for the Macabre Film Festival was online through Vimeo and YouTube, to be honest, except for I think there were two or three movies and a couple shorts. But nowadays they don't even mail you out the DVDs.
Yeah.
So,
no,
it's definitely
getting less and less movies for review in the mail, and then been links online.
Agreed. Definitely.
Well, that's definitely a possibility.
So, it's definitely something I think we should keep in mind. I think it's something that, fans would like. And, of course, anyone that's listening, you can always contact us at Horror Society and let us know what your ideas are as well.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
we've
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, we've talked about expansion, and where the site is now. We've talked about the possibilities of, expanding into other things, but, let's just say it, 5 years from now, Mitch, where do you see Horror Society?
Oh boy, that's, I don't know how to answer that without sounding like a douchebag. I want to be on top.
You got to dream big to be big, man.
I want to be, like, when people hear about it, I want them to be like, oh yeah, a Horror Society. Yeah, I want to be one of the big ones. And I think it's high time there's a new one. I can't help but say it, but like, let's do it.
I think it's starting to get there. More and more people are starting to know who Horror Society is. Mike, where do you see it? In 5 years, where do you see Horror Society?
Well, I think at the rate we're going, in 5 years, I think we'd be pretty darn close because, I get the weekly Facebook updates, and it seems like we average anywhere between, 100 to 175 new Facebook likes every week. And,
right.
And we're getting out there more and more. I think more people are noticing us, and more people are tuning in more.
I would definitely agree. Now, Mitch, because I know you keep a closer eye on the Twitter, just to give people an idea, let people know who some of the big names are that are, mainstream names that are following us on Twitter.
Oh boy. Well, we just.
I know you almost came out of your. Yeah, I know you almost came out of you when Ron Perlman started following us.
I know, like it's weird stuff like that, like Elvira, and it's like all these people that I follow, but they don't really follow very many. You got like 500,000 people following Elvira, and she's following 1,000. And you're just
right.
like, holy fuck, I'm one of those 1,000 now. How cool is that? Like she knows about stuff, And Ron Perlman, that was weird. Like I still got to say hi, because that's pretty freaking cool. I'm kind of a Sons of Anarchy fan, so it's like, holy shit, look at that,
Well, we got another writer on the line.
And Doug Bradley and stuff. Oh man, which of the M's is it?
Is this Big
Am I
Mike
on?
D?
I'm not sure if I'm actually on or not.
Is this Mike?
The
This is Mike. Well, Michael.
Big Mike D in Jersey.
What's up, Jersey Mike?
So we got the three Mikes and Mitch right now.
Sweet. Where's the other two? Where's the other two?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
What's up? So we're talking about what? People on Twitter?
Oh, we were talking about some of the celebrities that are following Horse Society on Twitter, yeah. But, I have you on, and I promised you that when I had you on, I would do this. First of all, tell the people who you are and what you do, and then tell them about the Horse Society book.
Michael DeFilippo from New Jersey. I contribute at Horror Society under MGDSQUAN. Tomorrow is actually my 3-year anniversary with the website. When I'm not doing that, I actually am starting my own projects, working on other people's films. I got some of my own projects coming out soon. And we just released Horror Society Stories Volume 1 last month at the beginning of the month. It's a collection of short stories from authors all around the United States, and then there's one from Australia.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a good book. It's different stories that I don't think a lot of people have read yet. So I think a lot of people should pick it up because it has a lot of originality in it.
Now, how did the concept for the book come about? Was that your idea? Did you and Mitch collaborate? How did all this come together?
Before we had story time with Holly Von Doom, another one of our contributors, I think Mitch and I both asked on Facebook what people would like to see more of on Horror Society, and the biggest amount of them said they wanted to see short stories. So I just ran with the idea of, instead of making a weekly column, why not just give them a book?
I mean, I think it's great. Now, Mike, Hoovie, as a writer, I mean, what did you think of the concept of the book? And did you give any consideration to writing something for it?
Well, it's a great idea for the book, and I first of all, I just wanted to say Mike D did such a great job in putting everything together and getting it published, and everything just looks so great on the book. I just want to thank him for doing such an awesome job on that.
Yeah, no problem. It was my pleasure.
Now, Mitch, what did you think about expanding out into the book idea? Because that was something definitely new for Horror Society.
Yeah, I thought it sucks. And I'm really pissed at Mike, actually, for doing it. So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Mike. I really appreciate it. No, I think it's a great idea. I think, no, it's cool. People, it's kind of sort of like what people want. So, I've kind of been a fan of asking people, like, what do you want more of? What do you want to see? Mike's kind of the same way. He's been like that for a long time. So I think it's really cool that he took that and just kind of went with it and, did it all himself. And it's turned out to be awesome. I don't know. It's a great-looking book, and I'm proud of him for doing it, man. I think it's a great addition. I don't know. I can't thank him enough, man. Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
Well, let me ask each one of you this, okay? And we'll start with Hoovie, and we'll go to you, Big D, and then we'll go to Mitch. Being a divorced father, I have a child, I have a job, but I put everything I can every day into Horror Society when I can. How do you guys manage to do the personal things in your life as well as be able to contribute at the high level that you do for Horror Society?
Oh, boy, that's kind of tough. I have a family as well. I'm married, and I have a 7-year-old son. And, obviously family has got to come first for a lot of stuff. So there are times when it's hard to find the time and even the energy to write every day. But it's for me, it's something that I love doing. I love informing people about, horror news or horror film, or if I go out and interview somebody, I love bringing that to the readers, and hopefully they enjoy it too. But yeah, it's hard to do that on a daily basis, and some days are better than others when you can get more done, and there's some days when when I can't get anything done due to other commitments. But if it, for me, I feel if it's something that you love doing, you can always find the time, even a little bit of time a day to do it is good enough.
Now, Mike D, you work in the industry as well. I'm an effects artist. I saw the pictures from your death scene the other night. I was quite impressed. The blood looked chunky, but it looked like it was tasty. But how are you managing to work in the industry and write about the industry at the same time? How do you feel that's an advantage for you as a writer?
How do I feel that's an advantage as a writer? I think it makes me more fair because I haven't done that many films. I've probably maybe been on like 8 or 9 film sets at this point, and they're all independent films, and I think it makes me fair as a writer because I can't critique somebody and be like, that looks like shit, that wasn't acted well, because then I have to look at it as, well, what did I just do there on that film set? How did I direct somebody over there when I just made that mistake myself? So I can look at it from, people from Bloody Disgusting and all the, the other websites, I think they just look at it from a strictly professional what it looks like angle and what it accomplishes, not so much all the effort and planning and, everything that just goes into it. So I think for me, it's easier to look at it as somebody in the industry because I can be more fair. I can give them what credit they deserve, and then I can also tell them, well, next time you can try doing this or try changing this.
Right. Now, Mitch, let me ask you, those of us that know, not that long ago, you and your wife had a baby. Kind of explain to people how that changed your availability of being at the site and how you parse your time to be able to spend time with your child and your wife and run this juggernaut of a website.
Well, I tell you what, it's been a tad bit difficult. For years I've been on there doing it like all day. 10, 12 hours a day. That's what I do. I'm answering emails. I'm doing all the social networks. And I'm posting 20, 25 stories a day, stuff like that. And since my son was born, Donovan, it's I go sometimes 2 to 3 days without posting something, or even answering an email because it's like I found it's very difficult. But I wouldn't give that up because I get to hang out with my kids, so it's I get to raise them and nobody else does, so it's that's great. But it's difficult. I don't sleep much. I tell you,
I don't think any of us on the site sleep much. If we do, we're all vampires.
Yeah. It's everyone's in bed, done. 10:30, 11. I'm up till 3, like literally just answering emails, trying to get some other stuff, ready. As you know, we just switched hosts and servers and stuff, so I have the scheduling capability back to the website. So I'm going to be loading up stories and just have them scheduled throughout the day now, because I can do that. So I couldn't do that before, which is kind of cool. So in that way, I'll get some more stuff done. But I haven't been there, and I got to thank all you guys for doing this, because I haven't been posting but like 20% of what I used to, and you guys are literally like picking up the slack, and I feel like so grateful for you guys doing it, and I feel bad at the same time because it's like I can't give you anything because I don't make shit anyway. It's like we have no products to sell, and it's like, can't even, other people give you like $20 and this and that. I'm like, fuck, I can't do any of that because I could barely pay like the server cost anyway. So I feel bad for that aspect, but I thank you so much for doing all this stuff because like it's just been an odd. Like I'm sort of getting into the like a schedule and a routine now. I'm kind of getting it. I'm kind of understanding when I could do things, what I could do at what time. Because going from like 12 hours a day to like every 2 days is really kind of weird.
Sure.
So, but it hasn't really necessarily hurt the website at all. Like our traffic's still there and it's still getting better. And I think a lot of times like I'll try to post some things that are like, I don't know, in a sense more important, than others. So like people will look at them. I don't know. It's a weird kind of thing that I do at night, but it's difficult. And like I'm an internet junkie too, so like I want to look at all these other websites and I want to like read all these, and my RSS feeds are like got 10,000 posts in them. I can't read any of this shit. So it's kind of weird going from like all day every day to like not much. So
I got you on that. Well, let me ask you guys before I let everyone go. We'll start with Hoovie and work our way down again. What would you say your most rewarding experience has been writing for Horror Society?
I would probably have to say just having the freedom to do my own thing and, write the kind of stories that I enjoy writing and that I think hopefully the readers enjoy reading. That would be probably for me.
Mike D?
You said our biggest achievement, right? Or just...
Yeah, what is the thing that you were just, the opportunity to write a Horror Society gave you this chance? What do you feel like your biggest accomplishment or achievement writing for Horror Society has been?
I have two that stick out really the most. The first one was I got a couple retweets from Wes Craven, which I thought was pretty cool because not only was he reading articles I wrote, but he was tweeting them out to his fans as well. And the other one was actually one of the first things I did for the website is I interviewed the singer Tiffany for that sci-fi movie, Mega Python versus Gatoroid or something like that.
Hell yeah, I just watched that the other day.
Yeah, and after I did the interview, it was the number 1 link on Yahoo that if you typed in the movie title, Mega Python versus Gatoroid, her interview with me was the first one to pop up in the search engine. So that was cool.
Now that is awesome. Mitch, how about you?
There's almost just way too many things to even say, but I guess what gets me is I occasionally get the emails every once in a while that no one wants anything from me, and they're just kind of like, hey, just wanted to say hi. Been a fan of your website for a long time. It's really cool. Keep up the good work. Just those kind of things to me make me feel like it's all worth it. And I've been given the chance to do like events and screen films, and I got you guys doing stuff. And the fact that writers stick around for a year is like a great accomplishment for me. I'm not pissing you guys off, and it's like you guys get my fucking like humor and stuff, and get where I'm coming from, and I get you. So that's like a big accomplishment. Like, and just like the little things, the little emails. Like I'll go to the music box here in Chicago, and I'll be like waiting in line or sitting outside, and somebody's like, "Hey, aren't you Mitch from Horror Society?" Like things like that. Not even like to stroke my ego or something, but the fact that like there's people reading this stuff that I'm doing, and I love that, and that's like the whole reason why I did it to begin with. Like, let's talk about some crazy shit that no one's ever heard of because it needs to be talked about, and people are reading that kind of stuff, and I get feedback like that. It just makes you feel cool. It's just like, good. So it's really not doing one big thing or something.
Well, I agree.
I got to tell you some stories later about like convention stuff and like Romero kind of new stuff, and that was pretty cool.
I agree with Hoovie. To me, it's I love the freedom that you give us as writers. I mean, I certainly appreciate that, and that goes hand in hand with the second one. I came so damn close, and I know a couple of you were on bated breath when I announced it. When I got to interview Barbie Wilde, Nicholas Vince, and Simon Bamford, the 3 Cenobites from Hellraiser. I mean, we were on the borderline of possibly having Clive or Doug Bradley join us for that conversation. And even though they were not there, without the opportunity that you have presented me with, I probably would have never had that chance. So, I'm very, very proud of both of those things, and and I love our staff. There's no one on the staff that I don't like or don't get along with. So I want to say thank you for that.
Yes, thank you all for everything.
You guys have any closing remarks for the listening audience?
Oh, yeah, vote for the Horror Society Awards 2014.
That's right.
#CSA 2014.
Hoovy?
Too funny, Mitch? I was going to say that.
I railed on that earlier, so I think everyone's gotten a piece of that one in. Mike, anything you want to say to your fans, the listeners?
Yeah, for the one fan that's out there, I just wanted to say, thank you guys for reading what we write, and I know I do it, for the love of the horror genre, and hopefully, you guys dig what we're doing, and just look for more better stuff yet to come.
Amen on that. Mitch, any last words?
I hate you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mitchell Wells, Mike Juvenal, and Big Mike D out of New Jersey, part of the staff of Horror Society. Gentlemen, I'm sure I will be online with all of you later. To the fans, these are the guys that you have to thank every day for what you read on our site. Guys, thank you for being on, and I will be talking to all of you shortly.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. And Mike.
Anytime, man.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Thanks for having me on.
Of course. And once again, that was part of the writing crew for Horror Society. That was the owner and big boss man, Mitchell Wells, Mike Juvenal, and Big Mike D out of New Jersey. Coming up, we are going to have our Blu-ray review of Scream Factory's The Crawlspace, starring Klaus Kinski. Creepy, creepy mess. But now we are going to get into the second song on our Metal Blade Spotlight for the evening. Once again, the name of the band is Aeons. The album is Aeons Black, and the song is Die by My Hand.
But that is when you also dress me.
And welcome back to the Calling Hours on Horse Society Radio. In the Metal Blade Spotlight, the name of the band was Aeons. The name of the album is Aeon's Black. The song was Die by My Hand. Once again, we want to say thank you to our friends out at Metal Blade and say thank you to Kelly in particular. Kelly is one of the fine individuals over there that makes sure that I get all the juicy metal that I play for you guys. To give you a little bit of background on the band, Aeon, and again, the album name was Aeon's Black. The album was released on November 20th of 2012. The band members are Tommy Dahlstom on vocals, Zeb Nilsson on guitar, Daniel Delemy on guitar, Arturo Maliki on drums, and Marcus Edvardson on bass. Amazing death metal. That's saying anything else is redundant and stupid at that point. The two tracks I picked, I Wish You Death and Die by My Hand, were my two favorites in particular on the album. In particular, track 9, Aeon's Black, very good stuff. Tracks 1 and 2, Still They Pray and The Glowing Hate. Just incredibly brutal death metal. I mean, if you're a fan of Vital Remains, Glenn Benton, lead singer from Deicide, Cannibal Corpse, of course, Heat Eternal, anything along those lines, this is definitely the album for you. This was their 4th full-length album and their 3rd release for Metal Blade. There was a 20-minute documentary that was also made, and that premiered along with the release of the album. Just absolutely stunning. I will have a full write-up on this CD, but I mean it's very heavy, of course, as you heard. Lots of blast beats, double bass drums. I think it's a little bit more melodic than Path of Fire was. I don't think that's a bad thing. It just definitely has more technical aspect to it than their previous album. But definitely some skull-crushing stuff. And if you check into horsesociety.com here in the next day or so, like I said, I will have the full written interview for that. But definitely, like I said, if you're a Corpse fan, Cattle Decapitation, Hate Eternal, things along those lines, Vital Remains, this is definitely an album that's up your alley, and I highly recommend checking it out. You can definitely get it on metalblade.com. I know you can download it on iTunes. So well worth it if you're Jim Rat or anything like that. That's music to work your ass out to. So I do highly recommend that. And again, we want to thank our friends at Metal Blade Records for sending that along for us to listen to. And when we conclude the show here in a few minutes, we will put the spotlight on next week's band. And it's a little bit of a different sound, something that you were probably not expecting to hear me play, but actually very powerful and entertaining. So let us move on to Scream Factory's Blu-ray release of Claude Kinski in Crawlspace. Now, I have to tell you, I vaguely remember this movie growing up. I mean, vaguely. Release date was in 1986. That would have made me 10, and I remember catching bits and pieces of it, but had never seen the whole thing. The one thing I will tell you, and I know I say this about every Blu-ray that this company puts out, but I mean, in terms of pristine, that was absolutely pristine version of the film. The audio is incredible. Claude puts on an incredible performance of a crazed landlord who basically basically a triple life. He's this creepy dude that rents apartments in an apartment building, and none of his tenants know that he has a network of crawl spaces to where he can watch them in their rooms. And, you know, spoiler alert, obviously, if you're listening to my show, you know I'm going to tell you what happens in the movie. You know, as it turns out, you know, he was a doctor. He was basically a Kevorkian before Kevorkian. But, you know, the interesting thing is, and I don't know how many people would actually say this or agree with it, you know, a lot of what we call, you know, the Nazi, you know, exploitation films and things like that, a lot of people feel like that had its run in the 60s and 70s. And, you know, based on the content of the film, you could make, you know, a strong argument that this film would fit into that subgenre of film. The film delves into the fact that, you know, Kinski's father was one of the lead doctors at a concentration camp, and all the people that he killed, and he goes, you know, he carries on that work through his medical work, and then once he's renting the apartments. I mean, there were some pretty gruesome murder sequences in it. I mean, you know, not ripped guts all over the place, but I mean, there was a decent amount of blood. Some of the murder scenes were quite inventive. Kinski is so over the top. I mean, so over the top. It's not hard to believe. I mean, it's almost like he's not acting. You know, the behind-the-scenes features were pretty nice. You know, you had audio commentary with writer-director David Schmoller. You had an interview with the makeup effects artist, John Volich. And then you had the short film, Please Kill Mr. Kinski by David Schmoller. And, you know, that one was actually interesting. And in the interview with John Volich as well, they both talk about, John was a little bit more kinder towards Klaus, I would say, not having to actually direct him, but just, you know, doing his makeup. But even he talks about, you know, kind of like the manic states and how Klaus would be on set. And then, you know, poor David, you know, the stories that he tells, it makes it sound like he and Klaus were ready to kill each other at the drop of a hat. And while I think that, you know, the short film, Please Kill Mr. Kinski, was meant in jest, I feel, you know, I don't think they were really going to kill the guy, but I definitely felt like there were some strong feelings. They did try to have him removed from the film. For those that don't know, this is, as an interesting side note, John Buechler was the special effects artist. Sergio Savolte was the director of photography. You should know both of those names, one from Friday the 13th and one from working a lot with Fulci and the Italians back in the 70s, early 80s. But also, as an interesting side note, Charles Band was the executive producer on this film, and we all know what kind of things Charles Band went on to, you know, during that phase, after that phase. As far as collectability goes, definitely pick this up. You know, whether you're a fan of Kinski, just horror in general. One of the other nice features on the disc were the TV spots and the theatrical trailers, and you saw them in their different grades of you want to call it high def. You know, not all of them are, you know, the straight-out baller high def, but it was nice to get all of those and to see the different trailers for it. You know, just, again, you know, great score. The production design is really nice. You know, when you're looking at it, the colors are so crisp. I mean, not just on the transfer. You know, the carpets are, you know, like a really deep, rich red. You know, the Kinski's apartment, his character's apartment, you know, the green on the walls. You know, it's very, very colorful, very bright, very vibrant. And, you know, that's juxtaposed when you're in the crawl spaces and you're in that, you know, the austere silverness, you know, the almost the sterility of being in the crawl spaces and almost the claustrophobia that it gives. You know, you think about being enclosed in something like that. It's actually not an appetizing thought. So definitely worth checking out. Like I said, if nothing else, just for the transfer, which is just simply amazing. And Kinski, like I said, genius. I mean, whether he was actually crazy or not, whether he was an ass on set, he's sane on set, whatever, he nails this role. I mean, you get that creepy vibe, and as the movie goes on and as madness continues, I mean, it's really something to behold. Not a lot of actors can really carry that madness to where you really believe it. So I would definitely check this out. One of Kinski's last films, but it was definitely a highly, highly entertaining film. So 2 thumbs up on that. So before we leave for the evening, we'll say our thank yous. Once again, thank you to the listeners. It's good to be back on the air. And thank you to all of my boys over at Horror Society. Mike Juvenal, Big Mike D, Mitch, the big boss man. Couldn't have done it without you. Can't do it without you. So thank you for being on the show and all that all that you do on the site, because you make what I do fun. We also want to say thank you to Miss Mandible over at Living Dead magazine. Don't forget that the next issue comes out on February 14th, and the Dedman will be in there doing an article on who I think the new up-and-coming scream queens are in the industry. We want to say thank you to our friends out at Shout Scream Factory. Tom Chen, thank you, good sir, for sending along Crawlspace. The written review will be up on Horror Society within the next day or so. And once again, thank you to our friends out at Metal Blade Records, in particular to Kelly. Thank you for sending me Aeon, Aeon's Black, for review and listening on the show tonight. And speaking of which, we are going to close our show out on next week's Spotlight Band. The man's name is Money Pittman. The name of the CD is The Power of Three. The song is A Dark Horse. And until next week, rest in peace.